Last year, over 40,000 refugees entered the United States to start a new life. A number of them were tortured in their home country. Too often, the children of torture survivors end up being the victims and have more trouble getting used to a new place. To help them succeed, a program called Owl and Panther uses art to reach them.
Owl and Panther began in '95. The parent organization much longer than that, but that's when the parents came to the folks who were running the torture treatment center and asked for help for their kids.
Marge Pellegrino told us about their history and how they operate.
So we're freestanding here in Tucson, but we are funded by the Hopi Foundation, who really believes that it is their goal, the reason they're here is to promote harmony. And so to offer this kind of a project for those who've experienced the worst humanity has to offer feels right for them. So Dr. Barbara Chester, who originally began this torture treatment center, pulled the creation story from the Cherokees. It's a Cherokee creation story about the Creator asking all the animals and plants to stay awake for 7 days and 7 nights. And the first day, everybody was like, yeah, we can do this. And by the third day, pretty much everybody was asleep. By the end of the 7th day, it was only the owl and panther and some of the plants that were able to stay awake as they were requested. And so the Creator gave them the gift to see in the darkness. So we're the owl and panther, and we write through our darkness.
They feel that writing is especially important for children to get used to the language, but they also use different types of art. Marge explains what they're trying to do and why art is so important to this process.
So we want them to be really comfortable with the language. We want them to feel safe. We want to give them a chance to express themselves, whether it's through art or drumming. We've done, this year we did ceramics. We had a fabulous project with the Desert Museum this year we looked at adaptation from a scientific standpoint. We took the kids out there, they saw the desert animals and plants, the land, and how it's adapted to this particular environment. And then Josh Shackner worked with photography, and I worked with the writing. And we worked for the kids to think about how they, using this whole idea of adaptation from the scientific viewpoint, turned it inside and thought about who they were, who they are now, and who they want to be in terms of adapting and using similes. And it was a fabulous project. The kids really came out with, really feeling like they understood adaptation, but they also came out with this beautiful project where they've got some great photographs and some really powerful lines of poetry that speak to their adaptation here in the United States.
I asked Marge to explain how it works. That is, how does art reach children, and what principles are they using?
Well, I think that whenever you can play with metaphor with them. So here's this scientific thing. Plants and animals adapt to their environment. Well, we have to adapt to our environment too. We are, those kids have been picked up from refugee camps or, wherever they've needed to flee from, a home that they needed to flee from, wherever that safety, however they got here, they had to adapt in the camps, they had to adapt in transit, and now here they are in Tucson, Arizona, which may be very different from their homeland, from what they're used to, and they have to adapt. So to see that plants and animals efficiently and effectively have adapted to an environment is just another way, a metaphor for them to know that they can adapt to their environment. So I think metaphor is a fabulous way to, you don't have to bang a kid over the head. We did one project this year called Trash to Treasure, and we had the kids write down the metaphorical trash in their lives. We didn't ask them necessarily to share it out loud, but you get things like fighting or war or drugs might be metaphorical trash, and they write it down on paper that's been used, that might be trash, and we rip it up, and we put it in a blender, and then make new paper out of it, something really beautiful. And then inside they wrote a book, their own book, that we brainstormed, strategies to transform trash into treasure. So what is it that you do when something happens to you that's not so good, something that's hard? What do you do? What are your strategies? So we shared all those strategies. Maybe it's listen to music. Maybe it's run. Maybe it's rest. Whatever those strategies were, and we got to share with each other. So at the end, they have this book so that the next bad thing that happens, they have this little resource, this reference that they can go to and go, you know what? I remember Jesse said that he really liked to go outside and be in nature. Maybe that's what I'll do around this situation. So they created that for themselves. It's an empowerment for them to work through metaphor. So we don't have to always come at it directly, like bad things happen to you and you can make, lemonade out of those lemons. But, to discover it, to actually do it with paper, and you have to adapt, but to look at adaptation as a scientific process and know, well, I can do this. And I am different than I was, and I will be different in the future. And how I'm going to be is somehow impacted by the effort that I'm going to bring to my life.
You can get all the details about this episode and others at septicradio.com. Just click on Shows and Podcasts, then look for Ben Jenkins in the list of shows. Please send us any questions or comments by clicking on Contact Us at the top right. You can subscribe to this podcast, read about all the shows, and browse through the products for sale. If you want to send us your own recording to use in a future episode of Listen In, just use your computer microphone to record yourself. Then upload the audio to any public file sharing site. Send us the link at septicradio.com. If you can't upload the audio, contact us anyway, and we will help you. Thank you for listening in. This is Ben Jenkins for Septic Radio.